guys, welcome to the discussion salon. If you're new here, my name is Paul, and to the rest of my subscribers on who, so thank you all for very much for subscribing. I'll keep on saying this, I always will say it. Thank you so much. I didn't think I'd even get this many, so thank you. Okay, so going forward, I apologize for not doing one of these videos. It's been a long time since I've done one. I've been doing mostly shorts, but this is the direction the channel's headed. So what I plan to do is I plan to do some short videos about some crimes or historical events. Then I'm going to do a video like this where I can elaborate a bit more on this, because you've only got a minute on each short. So I'm going to elaborate a bit more on these do from the shorts. Then I'm going to open up a discussion, a live thing, so you can discuss your theories about what happened or what would you do in that situation. So that is the plan. That is what we're going to do. So going forward from here, this is what I think. So you'll notice I've put 3 shorts down, a series of 3 shorts, part 1, part 2, part 3. And it is about a certain case that's unsolved crime that happened in an army camp in Surrey. So this is it. This is the case of the Poisoned Partridge. This is about the death and perhaps maybe murder, well, definitely was murder, of a Hubert George Chavez. Hubert was a second lieutenant in the British Army. He was a lieutenant in the Royal Artillery, and he stayed in a camp called Blackdown Camp, which is in Surrey. If you don't know, I'll put some maps on to describe it. So Blackdown is part of Deep Cut, is falls under Aldershot Military Town, even though it's not anywhere near Aldershot Military Town, but it's a satellite camp. So all falls under the umbrella of Aldershot Military Camp. So all falls under the umbrella of Aldershot Military Town. Okay, so this is the story of Hubert's death. So back in I've got to give some premise here. So so Hubert was born in India. His parents were Sir William Chavez, and his mother was a name Florence, and she was Lady Chavez. And like I said, he was born in India because his dad was a judge, and his dad had connections with the British Raj. This will make sense at the end, trust me on this one. So obviously his younger years of life, his first years of life, were spent in India. His parents later moved back to Britain, and he attended a school in Surrey. The school's name was the Charterhouse School, and that is in Godalming. Then Hubert, after his schooling, joined the army, and he joined as an officer, and he graduated from the Royal Military Academy in Sandhurst. The Royal Military Academy is where the more British Army officers get trained, and also trains officers from around the world. It is a really old academy, and it's a rather prestigious one too. So we're going to go forward, and he graduated on he graduated as second lieutenant on the 29th of August 1923. So we're going to go forward to 1931, where Hubert was an instructor at the Aldershot training camp, which was part of Aldershot Military Town. If you don't know where that is, I'll put some maps down again, like I said, but it's on the Surrey and Hampshire border. And Hubert had only been recently married to his wife, and his wife's name was Frances Rawlinson, and she was an extremely wealthy 29-year-old heiress. But the thing is, Chavez was her second husband, and her first husband was a Major George Jackson, and he was in the Royal Army Veterinarian Corps, and he was a vet. Okay. So, on the afternoon of the 20th of June 1931, the couple invited friends over for cocktails in their army bungalow at Blackdown Camp. So, after all the cocktails were done, the party was done, the friends left. And the, the Chavezes settled down to have an early dinner than usual because they were attending a military tattoo Aldershot. The tattoo they were going to attend was a torchlight tattoo in 1931. So earlier in the day, I presume their cook went to ordered a couple of Manchurian partridges. She ordered a brace of them from a supplier in Aldershot, and she went and cooked these. She went and cooked these partridges for their early dinner. She cooked them in the same pan. She used the same fat, and she made the fat into a gravy too. So when the partridge was ready, Hubert called for his Batman. Now, a Batman it's not, yeah, it's not the one we're thinking of. No, no, a Batman in the British Army is a private recruited by an officer to make the officer's life a bit more easier. So what he'll do his clothing, he'll iron his clothing, get his clothing clean. He would polish his boots. He would make sure the officer had a comfortable life. And here's Nicholas Hubert's Batman. Sorry, almost said the Batman's name there. So Hubert's Batman was a Nicholas Bolger, and his rank, because he was a private and he was in the Royal Artillery, his rank was a gunner. Now, when the partridge was cooked, Hubert sent for the gunner to collect the partridges. So the partridges were put on a serving dish. Nicholas went and got them, and he placed them on the sideboard in the dining room. Sorry about that. There's a crime. So you went and placed the partridges on the sideboard for the dining room. Hubert's wife went up, and she proceeded to carve the birds. So she served Hubert one of the birds, and he took a mouthful, and he just shouted out, and he cried out, and he called for his Batman Nicholas, and he said, "Take this bird away. It is the most terrible thing I've tasted." He let his wife try the meat. Now his wife didn't eat the meat. She just used the tongue to see if it was okay, and she agreed with him. She agreed it tasted foul. It was horrible. So Hubert got his Batman to take the birds away, and to incinerate the meat because he didn't want his dogs because he had dogs. He didn't want his dogs getting ill too. So they destroyed the meat. Later on that day, William lost control of his legs. William? No, not William. Herbert. Sorry, Herbert. I was thinking something totally else then. So Herbert lost control of his legs. Then he started convulsing. So a doctor was called. Then later during the night, Francis started to get ill. And another doctor was called, and they got taken away to a hospital. They got taken to Frimley Cottage Hospital, which gives its name away, is in Frimley, Frimley, Surrey. They got taken there. They were given a powerful medicine to bring whatever sickness was there to bring it up. But unfortunately, later on that morning, Hubert passed away. Now, there was apparently a quick autopsy thing, and they found 2 grains of strychnine in his stomach. While Mrs. Chavez, or Frances Chavez, went and recovered because she only tasted the meat. She didn't eat the meat, she tasted it. So there was nothing to be found. So later on the 22nd of June, his announcement of of his death was made in the Times paper. Now, on the 24th of June, on the day of his funeral, Hubert's father, Sir William Chavez, received a telegram on the day of his son's funeral, and all the telegram said was "Hurrah, hurrah, hurrah!" So, and they found out it was sent from a hotel in Dublin. The hotel's name was the Hibernian Hotel, which was a well-known hotel in Dublin, and it was signed by J Hartigan. Now, the Garda was informed, and there was nobody of that name found at the hotel. But after making some more inquiries, the Irish police, or the Garda, found that a South Dublin chemist had sold strychnine about 4 weeks earlier to a man who was of similar appearance to the man who sent the telegram under the name of J Hartigan. So that's a bit weird. Then there was a paper called the Daily Sketch, and they published a copy of the telegram. Only for the next couple of days, they received another telegram signed by J Hartigan, and it read, "Dear Sir, why did you publish a picture of the hurrah telegram?" And those things. And on the 4th of August, Sir William received another telegram from J Hartigan saying, "It is a mystery they will never solve," which is a bit weird. I mean, even that for to be weird. So, I'm going to go a bit more into the case now. Because dead air is a terrible thing. So there was an investigation into this. They investigated the shipment of the partridges that came, and it was examined by experts, and they found no poison birds. So there's no poison birds in the actual shipment neither. Several people were interviewed, including Mrs. Chavez and her former husband. You remember her former husband? Her former husband was Major George Jackson of the Royal Army Veterinary Corps. And Jackson denied he had anything to do with the death of Hubert, stating that he was a miles away in Northampton at the time. So he had a good alibi. He was in Northampton. There's quite a distance between Northampton and Aldershot or Camberley. And he also added he considered that the J Hartigan, the man who sent the telegram, a card and a blackguard. Mrs. Chavez was unable to shed any light on her husband's death, and later on, the Irish police later identified the author of the telegram towards the end of 1931 and determined he was mentally unbalanced. And he had no other involvement in Chavez's death. The only problem is police records identifying this person have not survived, so they've been destroyed for some reason. I don't know why they got destroyed. So there's been loads of theories about how Chavez died. The investigation stalled because of lack of evidence. Several weeks, the coroner announced at the inquest there's no evidence in which he can find a definite verdict. Therefore, I direct you to find an open verdict into Hubert's death, which is often referred to as a murder, but this is incorrect. The coroner returned an open verdict in a legal sense. This meant that he was unable to confirm whether Chavez died by accident or misadventure, suicide, murder, or manslaughter. Legally, Chavez's death should be referred to as suspicious death. Okay, so there is evidence pointing to directions on why Hubert passed away. Even though Hubert's death was definitely suspicious, I mean, it's is just so it just doesn't fathom out. There's something missing here. There is circumstantial evidence to suggest that he may have been murdered by his wife Frances. But you got to remember, why would Frances murder him? It wasn't because that she was poor herself. She was from an extremely wealthy family, an extremely high-end and well-to-do family, and she'd only just been recently married to him too. But in May in 1931, one month before Hubert's death, Frances changed the will. Copies of the will and the amended will do not survive. I don't know. That's bad English. I don't think copies of the will survived. But also in France's defence, she'd regularly changed the will. But this is where suspicion lies. So on the day of her husband's death, Frances released herself from the Cottage Hospital in Frimley and returned to her London apartment to recuperate. So when she done that, she sent for her. Sorry, just had some email pop up. Okay, go away. So in the interim, she arranged for her chauffeur and a children's nanny to clean up the bungalow at the Blackdown camp. So by the time the Surrey police arrived at the bungalow to investigate, all evidence of everything had been removed. There was no evidence there that could link the case to anybody. But in November of 1931, Francis departed for India to pursue an old flame who was an army officer serving there. But even though this person never been identified, it seems he departed for India shortly before. At the time, Frances changed her will, and she sought permission from Surrey police to leave England to travel India. And she was quite open with the police on why she wanted to do this. And she returned to England in 1932. Even though her children and records suggest that none of them travelled to India to be with her or with her while she was there. There's also rumours that at the time of Hubert's death, that Francis was having an affair with a chauffeur, and he was a married man with a young daughter. So you got to look why these things happen. I mean, we can go back to Ireland, and they talked about where Dublin police interviewed every guest at the Hibernian Hotel without success. The post office worker who took the instructions related to the telegram remembered the man who sent it, and someone's description tallied with that man, of a man who brought a large quantity of strychnine in Dublin, but the trail petered out. This was also saying the author of the manual was clearly a determined man, and when the Daily Sketch published a copy of the telegram, they received a cable and saying, "What I repeat before, why did you publish a picture of the hurrah telegram?" There have been loads of theories about the poisoning of Lieutenant Chavez. One of them is that the partridges were fed on berries that are somehow contaminated, but that doesn't count the telegrams. Maybe they were cruel hoax. And plus, they examined the box of partridges, the shipment of partridges, and you can't see which partridge that somebody's been. If you're going to poison, you're going to poison every single bed because you can't tell which one they're going to buy. There was another theory that it was a homicidal maniac with a fancied grievance against a family and injected the game with a hypodermic syringe. But in that case, innocent guests would have been killed first. Well, they didn't serve it to innocent guests; they served it to themselves because it was a cocktail party. The guests left and they cooked the meal because they were going out to the Torchlight Tattoo and Aldershot. Um, so okay, so we're going to go into it, and it was thought that the poisoned partridge may have been sent by some Indians in a vengeance, because Hubert Chavez served in India, and his father had been a former Indian judge. But why would somebody send a telegram from Dublin? You got to remember that time too. The island did fight a war with Britain by the time of 1921 to 1922, the Irish War of Independence. So tensions were still running a bit high between Ireland and Britain at that time. Still a lot to be discussed and a lot of history about that. If you into Irish history, we'll talk about that later on. It is very complicated, but good to learn from. Okay, like I said, it's thought that the partridges may have eaten the strychnine in the form of berries and died, but in fact, the hurrah telegram was sent the day before the news of Hubert's. Yeah, so the hurrah telegram was sent the day before the Hubert Chavez's death was made public, indicating that it was deliberate. The partridges were Manchuria, not Mancurian, that's from Manchester, that. And experts are given evidence that often that poison berries are often used to kill the birds, but I think they're barking up the wrong tree in that one. The birds were delivered in the morning and been placed by the cook in an open meat safe outside the bungalow, where they could have been easily injected with a strychnine solution before they were put into the oven. So let's see what it says here. Yeah. So also, it's thought that J Hartigan was in England, and it said that the police thought that the sender of the telegram had arrived in Dublin on the morning where the telegram was sent and stayed for about a fortnight in County Wicklow. The police were reported saying they identified the handwriting found on the signature of the hard telegram with that of a passenger list on a cross channel steamer, and it corresponded with the signature found in the register of poisons at the chemist in County Dublin. And it's reported that the police had photographs of J Hartigan, and it was reported that the police officials in Dublin refused to make any comment on that. Um, Also, they carried out lots of experiments in cookery to see if they can determine anything about how the partridges got poisoned with this strychnine. So there's loads of theories about this. About this case here is it's a very interesting case. It's never been solved to this day, but there was a media thing. There was a media case on BBC Radio 4 in 2011, and it's part of the Punt PI series by Stephen Punt. And there was a total lack of evidence but that prevented the program from reaching any firm conclusions, and it was noted that none of the initial suspects had the motive and opportunity to hurt Hubert, and it's conjectured that Chavez and his farmer had strong connections to the British Raj, and also J Hartigan is an anagram of Raj Hating. So, there you go. That is the case of the Poisoned Partridge. William died. Nobody knows who done it. Suspicion may fall on his wife. Suspicion may fall on J Hartigan. Suspicion falls on people in India and Dublin. So you have to ask yourself, why did the Dublin police not investigate further? Was there still, did they still not investigate it because there's still a bit of hurt between Britain and Ireland? Was it because that Hubert and his father William Chavez had strong connections to the British Raj, and that his father was a judge in India, or did his wife do it because she fell out of love and she was having an affair with somebody else, or that she wanted an ex-partner? This is the case, so that is the case. That is what we can talk about. So who do you think killed Herbert? Do you think it was his wife? Do you think it was people from India? Or do you think it was that person, J Hartigan, in Ireland? So I'll leave the choices up to you. If for you to decide, I'd love to hear your theories. I will be doing a live discussion on this case. If you're interested in joining the live, I'll put a short video inviting people to come along and join, and we can have a small chat about it, and you can come up and tell me your theories and what happened. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Thank you for watching, and also just thank you for being here. I'm going to say the most cliche thing everybody says on YouTube. If you could please like and subscribe to this channel, it would do me a world of good. And I appreciate everybody who has joined. Really, I do. When people say that on the internet, I never believe them, but really, really, I do. It just amazes me that I'm getting this amount of people here. It really does. It absolutely means a lot to me. So thank you to everybody, and thank you to the original people who joined too. I'll never forget you. You're some of the best people on here, so you all take care of yourselves. Have a blessed day. And I'm going to say good night because I am doing this. Oh no, it's not good night. Damn. I'm doing this at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm doing this. What am I like? But look, have a good morning. If you're at night time, have a good night. Have a good sleep. Look after yourselves, and I'll speak to you guys soon. I'm Paul, and this is the Discussion Salon. Crimes, history, and discussion. What more could you want? All right, look after yourselves. You all take care now. Goodbye.